In Sudan, widely attended protests were held in order to bring about the end of the 30-year Omar Al-Bashir dictatorship and the transition to civilian rule. Women played an important role during the protests, in which university student Alaa Salah, known as the Woman in White, standing on top of a car, became a symbol. In England, the Extinction Rebellion group carries out acts of civil disobedience in order to draw attention to climate change, the loss of biodiversity, and the risk of ecological collapse, and calls upon the government to take concrete steps toward combating climate change. The peaceful protests, which draw widespread participation from many sections of society, puts forth an urgent call for state governments to reduce carbon output to zero by the end of 2030. At the new Istanbul Airport, construction workers staged a walkout in response to problems such as fatal workplace accidents, poor working conditions, and unpaid wages. Despite violent intervention by the police and gendarmes, as well as hundreds of arrests, the workers became the voice of all construction workers, with their demonstration at the construction site where 52 people lost their lives through a 5-year period. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the Espace Masolo Center brings together children and young people who lost their families or suffered abuse because of war together with art. Through education in music and puppet theater, the center teaches the children local customs and beliefs, as well as raises awareness on social issues. The Tamrezan family from Armenia, who is living undocumented in the Netherlands, sought refuge in a church when their request for political asylum was denied. Hundreds of pastors and volunteers held an 800-hour service in the church where the family had sought refuge in order to help their neighbors, taking advantage of a law prohibiting police from entering places of worship during services. The actions resulted in a statement from the government that changes would be made to immigration law. A decision to construct a coal-burning electric plant in an oak forest near the village of Pinarja in Tekirdağ province met with objection from a group led by 5 women from the village. Holding meetings for 2 years, the group organized villagers against the project, which would impede the employment of women and lead to pollution of the environment. The powerful struggle was successful. In light of the environmental impact statement, the project was cancelled. When Algerian President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who had headed an oppressive rule for years, announced his candidacy for a 5th term, the people began staging protests. Expressed in a peaceful, inclusive, and humorous manner, the demands for political change gained the participation of citizens from all classes, genders, and ages. Bouteflika withdrew his candidacy and resigned. This smile revolution demonstrated once again that the language of peace can bring about powerful political change. Ronald Real and Virginia Sanfratello of the United States built seesaws in the Mexican border wall that President Donald Trump wants to reinforce. The design draws attention to the fact that an act on one side of the border affects the other side despite the wall. Drawing enthusiastic attention from citizens of both countries since its installation, the pink seesaw has been resisting the wall through play. The Village Schools Change Network works towards the goal of raising the quality of education in Turkey's village schools. The network provides trainings in areas such as child psychology, classroom management, and sustainable education models to the village teachers. By bringing teachers together, the network creates a solidarity platform which makes it easier to share experiences. Striving to make innovative, child-focused practices in children's education more widespread, it also holds a variety of child-oriented workshops. The Sabarimala Hindu temple in India did not allow women who had begun to have their periods to enter, as they were considered unclean. Those who defended this ban, despite the Supreme Court decision to abolish this practice, prevented women from entering the temple. 5 million women of various social groups and faiths formed a 620-kilometer human chain in order to support allowing entrance to women and call for gender equality. Carola Rackete, a captain working with the Sea Watch in order to rescue refugees attempting to cross the Mediterranean in boats to reach Europe, took 53 stranded refugees into her boat. When Italy refused her request to provide a safe port to these refugees, she was forced to head without permission to the island of Lampedusa. Taken into custody for a time and then released, Rackete continues to defend the idea that saving human lives is more important than any political gain. Founded during a time when various civil organizations in Diyarbakir were being closed, the Colorful Hopes Association works towards the dream of a children's world where children can live their childhood as children. Association activists held drama, music, photography, and game workshops in the city's heavily damaged neighborhoods in order to ameliorate the effects of forced migration, loss, and poverty upon children. In Sweden, Greta Thunberg demanded that politicians pay attention to the climate crisis by organizing a sit-in in front of the Parliament building with a banner reading, "School Boycott for the Climate." Organized every Friday, Thunberg's sit-in received support from children around the world. Launching a global resistance with the action called Fridays for the Future, the children inspire humankind to take responsibility for the world they live in and their future.
Our house is on fire.
In Syria, Mohammed Alaa Al-Jalil took on the job of caring for street cats in war-torn Aleppo. Working with the help of donations coming through a social media account opened by journalist Alessandra Abedin, he built a shelter for the cats and a space called the Garden of Hope, where children affected by the war could play with the cats. Female workers employed by the municipality of Glasgow, Scotland, went on strike after their 12-year-long demand for equal pay with men remained inconclusive. Standing behind the statement, "Equal pay is not a gift to be given," 8,000 women, with the lead of the country's two largest unions, brought the city to a standstill for 2 days. After years of being ignored, this powerful act of resistance ended with the women's demands being met. Working against the establishment of a gold mine in the Ida Mountains, which contains Çanakkale's only source of potable water, a large group of people from the region and around Turkey sprang into action to defend the rights of people, animals, and the environment. Tens of thousands of activists of all ages and backgrounds entered the mining company's work area after setting up camp in the area where trees were being cut and began a vigil for water and conscience.